Hello, my love. Good morning to you. I hope that you have stretched. I hope that you have maybe had a sip of water or something to drink. I hope that you are well. I am thinking about you as always. I hope today that you find moments to pause, to sit and perhaps do nothing, whether it's for 30 seconds or 60. However long, I hope you find moments to interject pause into your day. I love you. I am, of course, thinking about you. I was thinking also about being your own person, and more specifically, thinking about this in terms of parenting and how, as a child, you cannot escape, I shall say, the remnants of your parents. You could say the shadow of your parents, but what it really is your parents, or my parents, gave me certain traits. They taught me certain things. They taught me numerous things, many things. But I'm talking more specifically about the things that they did not know that they were teaching me. Their ways of behavior, our ways of coping, things that perhaps might not actually be helpful. And being your own person, I found for me, and thinking about my parents and what they gave me and what I got from them, part of my job as a human being was to figure out what I got from them that was useful and what was not useful. And to sift through and figure out, is perhaps my distrust for others a rather larger distrust than most people might have? Is that something I got from my parents? Arguably I could have got it from somewhere else, but I'm pretty sure it got it from one of my parents in particular. And is that helpful to me? Is it useful? And for me to decide, do I want to own that? Do I want to have that? Do I want to continue with that trait? So being your own person, for me, really meant thinking about what I was doing in my life and what I got from my parents that was useful and what was not useful. And of course, there's always this sense, or I felt in my life that there was this sense with parenting of judgment. There was the old joke, I think, of always, with psychotherapy, oh, are we going to talk about my mother or what my mother did, sort of thing. And while it is most certainly true, I found that who we are is in large part, or has in large part, to do with who our parents were and how they treated us and what we saw them do and our interactions growing up with them. But this is not a question of blame. I do not blame my parents for having a perhaps overzealous distrust of others. My parents were doing the best they could. And that phrase itself always rubbed me a little bit the wrong way. To say someone was doing the best they could, people say that, well, with parenting, oh, they were doing the best they could. And then the question is, were they really? Perhaps they could have done actually a little bit better. The fact of the matter is we can always do a little bit better in whatever our endeavor is. But what I mean when I say that my parents were doing the best they could is that they were operating on the information that they had at the time. And they were operating under the circumstances that were present at the time. And given the information they had, and given the circumstances they were under, they parented me the best that they could, using that information and dealing with those circumstances. Now, of course, I even felt in my own life there were times where I thought, oh, I should be spending more time with you. And oftentimes I would. And sometimes I wouldn't. I would actually take that time to get other things done. And then that is where I, as a parent, have to decide, was it worth it? And whether I should course correct or change. Again, this is all a little bit off the topic of being your own person. I'm skewing into parenting a little bit. But the point is, we get so many things from our parents, and we don't have to take them. You can make your own choice. You have to develop the cognizance and the awareness to see them and to think about them and decide whether you want to keep them, whether this is something useful to you or not. But it's an endeavor worth doing, or at least I found that it was worth doing, because it allowed me, especially in this case of distrust, to actually perhaps think that people are trustful, that perhaps people actually are operating from a sense of goodness and kindness, and not simply because they are out to make a buck or because they're looking out only for their self-interest. Of course, we are always interested in our own self-interest, but that doesn't mean we have to exclude the interests of others as well. So take it for what it's worth. There's no real prescription here, just something to think about. Being your own person, what do you want to keep and what do you not? I most certainly have given you many things that are not worth keeping. And so I hope you have time in your life to sift through them. And I suppose in some parts I should apologize for what you got, but then in the other part of me is I was doing the best I could under the circumstances I had, sort of thing. So with all of that in mind, chew it over, see what you think. Know that I love you, know that I'm thinking about you, and again, I will recommend the Kaylee 47 and Diane Cook's Man vs. Nature. I love you.